And there are some things that unfortunately you can't come back from. Like somebody losing a job in the middle of a transaction. Unless they get another job pretty quickly, it's going to be tough. But I would say for the most part, there is a solution to a lot of problems that we have in this industry. So.
Welcome to Earn This Signature podcast. And we have another episode with my amazing Jeremy Gomez.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I do what I can. I don't know if I'm amazing. No, we're all amazing. You're amazing. We're amazing. And you're amazing.
There you go. Some motivation from Jeremy Gomez, like always. But today we're talking about something that we have to deal all the time. It's deals that almost fell through, but make it. And in real estate for us, every transaction has a story. Every transaction, there's so many obstacles that we have to overcome, so many situations that we have to resolve, because a lot of time we talk about that we're like firefighters, where we're putting fires away. But there's so many transactions that have made it to the table, to that closing table, that if it wasn't for a persistent agent or people working along that hand to make it happen. So do you remember any of those?
I could tell them they just happened this week.
Do you have any?
Yeah. Well, the thing to understand with real estate transactions is that there are 25 people roughly involved in one transaction. So we know what we're responsible for, and we know what we can do, and we know what our expectations are, what we can help, and what we can accomplish. But unfortunately, and we work with a lot of out of those 25 people, a lot of great people that we know that can trust that they're going to do what they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, there's people in those 25 that don't know what they're doing and don't communicate as well as you want them to, and don't answer the phone or don't answer an email, and they go radio silent for days upon days when you're trying to get answers for the rest of the other 25 people. And sometimes you find yourself as a real estate agent, as an orchestrator, to try to make sure that everybody's on the same page and make things happen. So that is what makes it sometimes a little difficult, and it all comes down a lot of times to communication. And that's why deals fall through. Lack of communication and lack of expectation. That's as simple as I can put it. Somebody expected something and it wasn't done.
So if you have to choose, I know we had a file like that this week, especially with that in the mortgage side. And I think the biggest obstacle was, what was it?
The biggest obstacle in that one transaction you're referring to was, and I will give a little rundown, is basically the loan officer should have been held nameless. We're gonna
always
withhold the name. I don't think had the structured the deal correctly, and because the deal wasn't structured correctly, and maybe a combination of the buyer too, wasn't our buyer, we were the listing side. So here I am with the buyer's agent, which is the other side, trying to make things happen and trying to do it. Great person, actually. The buyer's agent was very cooperative, very communicative. Really pleasant to work with. But unfortunately, the loan officer that was picked was not. And so we came to a point where we were saying we're closing on this date. We're closing early on this date. We're closing, a week early. Congratulations, everybody. Everybody was happy. We got the seller to sign. And then the week goes by, or the day goes by that we're supposed to close, and said, oh, we're going to keep it at the regular day. Okay, no problem. That date's about to come in. And they said we have to resolve issues. They have to go do this. They have to do that. The borrower they didn't deposit the right money, whatnot. And again, mind you, probably these things could be structured beforehand. Mm-hmm. And then comes the day of the closing and says we need an extension. Here we are. Sure, we'll grant the extension. That extension is almost up, and they said we need another one. So 4 extensions later,
wow,
we're here. And it's crazy because actually, as we're recording this, the deal has closed but has not
funded.
Has not funded. The deal signed. There's money in everybody's in the title company's account, and it's not. And it's all because of lack of communication from the loan officer, unfortunately, and or it's not really about because you can't communicate. I think a lot of deals fall through in the mortgage side by loan officers that are afraid to face a mistake or afraid to face um, bad news
Wow.
or deliver bad news to the other party. And I know this for a fact because we've been in this for a while. And I know there definitely were some balls dropped in this transaction, and because some stuff didn't make sense to me, and I was questioning everything and whatnot. So a deal can fall through because of a lack of communication or a lack of a loan officer not communicating the bad news to the other party. And mind you, we get bad news all the time. I have to give bad news to clients all the time, but it's not about the bad news that you give, it's how you come back from it. What is the solution? I always call in for bad news or some rough news, but with a solution in hand. You gotta have a solution in hand.
And it's actually funny now that you're saying that about agents, whether it's the broker mortgage part of it or the real estate side of it or the title, whichever department is involved that has to deliver that bad news, that has to do with the communication. You're not communicating a bad news, it's actually communicating it, So I think that the fastest, and in this industry, the fastest you move, the fastest you communicate the challenge that we have is the fastest that we can find a solution.
That's correct.
But if you don't communicate it and you withholding it yourself, you're taking the whole liability upon yourself that when this bomb explode, it's going to explode on everybody. And it's a domino effect.
And there are some things that unfortunately you can't come back from, like somebody losing a job in the middle of a transaction. Unless they get another job pretty quickly, it's going to be tough. But I would say for the most part, there is a solution to a lot of problems that we have in this industry. So, but I would say one of the main things is that. I can go on to the next one if you like.
Sure, go ahead.
The next thing is fulfilling what was written in a contract. A seller, mainly on the seller side, if a seller says that they're going to do X, they have to do X. If they don't do it, that's a problem. So, I've seen certain transactions where the seller did not, for example, leave items that they were supposed to leave.
Oh.
A refrigerator. They said the refrigerator is going to stay. And because of a lack of communication between agents or whatever, or contracts, the refrigerator's not there, and then there's a problem. Okay. So, or a property was not clean to the buyer's standards. I haven't really seen too much of people wanting to back out, except if there's something like actually majorly wrong. So I always advise sellers, you got to leave the property like show ready. It doesn't have to be like a really expensive deep clean. I mean, that would be great, but just leave it clean. Like leave it how you would want to be left when the property comes. So I've seen those issues arise, of the expectation of what a property should be at the time of the turnover to the new buyer, that people get upset because it's not in that condition that it was supposed to be. So I've had plenty of those.
What would it be one obstacle, the most challenging obstacle that you have to face in your career, and how you work through it?
Wow. Like in a transaction?
Yes.
In a transaction? Let me see. I can really think of a lot. I mean, the most recent one was definitely a seller of ours that was guiding a payoff that was incorrect. And nobody could understand why it was so much higher than what was expected. And a lot of people just left it like as it is what it is and you have to do it. When I dug a little deeper into it, which took me some skill, right? But more of like asking questions and researching and making some calls, I came to find that the additional money that was being charged in that payoff to satisfy that mortgage at closing, so then the buyer can come in and close in the home, it was inflated by almost $60,000.
By who?
By the actual lender. And so by a fee that was not supposed to be there. Specifically a prepayment penalty fee, meaning that you get a mortgage and if you pay it off earlier than what you're supposed to, if there's a prepayment penalty, you got to pay a percentage, usually like 5% of the loan amount or whatever. And so they were charging it when that time span had already passed. So it took us literally a whole week, I would say, to call the lender out and let them know that we're not paying, like the client's not paying this because the time's passed already. And, getting attorneys involved and all sorts of stuff, to them finally at the 11th hour, the day that we were supposed to close, got that payoff to where it was supposed to be. Because we put the fear of God in a lot of these people because we're like, if you're standing firm that you're going to close, you want this closing to happen with that additional funds. So you're literally extorting a client, putting them up against the wall because they have no option, paying this bogus fee when it's not supposed to be there. And so we were able to manage it to get this fee off. And again, I'm a real estate agent. I'm not in the mortgage part. And that's something that had to be done by the client, but he relied on our expertise. And I'm very, como se dice en español, atrevido, or, very daring. And I went ahead and did what I had to do to make sure that the clients were serviced, and this is, again, comes through knowledge for so many years, over 20 years in this business, to know like what's right and what's wrong on a payoff, and these are things that you learn. So
what would be a quality that you carry as an agent, Jeremy, that have helped you, the number one quality that have helped you overcome these challenges on deals that are about to just fall apart?
Ask questions. That's the quality that I always have. Ask questions and ask thought-provoking questions. Once you have a knowledge of what's supposed to happen in a transaction, then you ask the questions of why didn't it happen how it's supposed to happen. Every client is different. Every transaction is different. But there's a concept of what happens. So when it goes outside that box, you ask questions. Like, why didn't it happen? Why wasn't this disclosed, at this time? When we're already here, it should have been done at this time. Who dropped the ball? And again, we make mistakes. I make mistakes too. But we find a solution and we take responsibility for those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Owning up to your mistake can actually get, I would say, get solution faster because you own up.
Yeah.
I screwed up. How can we correct that mistake? And the one thing about that, I do agree. It bothers the heck out of me because my husband asks so many questions that it gets under this Cuban skin of mine. And the people that know me, I was like, why are you asking that question? And it's because he has a provoking question that he wants the answer. And it really ticks me off because you, like, for one mission, let's say we're going to dinner, Jeremy have to ask you 15 different questions that you're like, we're just going to dinner. But I think it's a skill that you have sharpened and God have given me the patience to answer. And sometimes I just don't answer. I pretend I didn't listen and I just continue walking just to see if it goes off. And then it's important that he asks the question again. And it's a skill that you have developed. And I think it has saved us in a lot of deals. And that today's that we can say that we have, very well closed that would have been dead deals.
Yeah, the one I was telling you about was kind of technically a dead deal unless the fee was not removed. But we knew we had the case. And everybody had given up on it. Like I'm telling you, the buyers were ready to give up on it. Even the seller, I think, was ready to give up on it and was going to start fighting legally and stuff. People in the office here said, what are you still doing with that thing? You just give up on it. No. And I didn't. And it took a while. But it happened. It
was a good commission too.
Yeah. Well, it's all about servicing the client for us. The reward is the monetary portion of it, but just to know that, the client was beyond amazed of what we did for that transaction. That was just the most rewarding part of it. And even the other side thought it was a deal too. And they sincerely, they didn't like me for a little bit, but they sincerely thanked me for being able to be persistent and consistent with that situation.
I remember that story so well that the following day, the attorneys were asking the seller, who the heck is Jeremy Gomez? Who is this guy and where you hire him? Because he was able to discover an extortion from our lawyers that we didn't know. So that not only makes you feel like, wow, if I were persistent, I was able to save money to my client and finish that task that, like what we say, yeah, commission is amazing and we work so many hours and weeks and months for free. We don't get it done, but at the end of the day, it's getting from A to B. And that's, closing that transaction was very rewarding. Now, anybody that is going through a very stressful transaction, what would be one piece of advice that you can give to a buyer or seller that right now are going through stressful struggle that they don't know that this deal will even make it? What would that be?
The main thing I say is get details, and your real estate agent should hopefully be able to discern that, right? Get the details and know what is it that truly is happening. Because I'll tell you, there's so many. Because it's hilarious, because I've obviously met so many people throughout the years. I was a broker for many, many, many years. And I still get calls from my previous agents asking me advice on what to do in a transaction or what would you do, Jeremy? And then I help them out because that's the person who I am. But they weren't asking the right questions. And the problem always that I see where people get deals fall through and could have been saved is because they didn't ask any questions. There's this grayness of a situation that everybody just gives up and doesn't want to dig deeper. And I'll tell you, if you dig deeper, you'll find the real mistake or the real thing that went wrong. And most of the time you can come back from it, I would say. So that's my advice. Ask more questions, dig deeper, and hopefully whoever is assisting you is going to be able to get you out of it. But if they don't ask the right questions, that's the problem. So that's the issue.
I agree. Real estate isn't perfect. There's like what you said before. There's so many hands, so many departments, so many company involved, so many domino effect that one thing will affect the other. But not giving up, challenges doesn't mean failure. Challenges mean what you just said. Dig deeper, and you will find answers to most of the impossible things that you think that giving up is the only way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So not only in real estate, in anything in life, guys, making sure that you're asking that right question, communication, and always serve people with that servant heart, that the answers will given to you. So
yes,
thank you so much for sharing this.
Absolutely.
On our craziest deals that we have made it through. And after 20 plus years, we're still standing here. Thank you so much for being part of this another episode. Don't forget to subscribe, to comment, to share, and hit the ring thing, right, Jeremy?
A little notification bell.
Thank you, and see you at the next episode. God bless.